All right, so today we are going to talk about the labor force and unemployment. We're going to start off with the labor force first, right? So, who makes up the labor force of the United States? Well, we need to start with the entire U.S. population, and then we need to start eliminating groups of people from there, right? So, the first group of people we will be subtracting from the labor force are those under 16 years of age, right? If you're under 16, you can't legally work anyway, so we're not going to count you as part of the labor force. Then we're going to subtract those in the military, right? Yes, we get paid every 2 weeks. Yes, we spend our money, but the military really isn't contributing to the economy because we're not really producing anything, right? The military is there to destroy economies, not to build economies, so they are not counted as part of the labor force. Then we need to subtract those that are institutionalized. Now, what do we mean by institutionalized? Think of people that are in prison, people that are mentally incapable of working, people that are physically incapable of working, right? They cannot work. So what do we do now? Well, we cannot put them as part of the labor force, right? Right. So after we eliminate those groups of people, this is going to leave us with the non-institutionalized adult civilian population, right? We're not done subtracting people from the labor force because we need to subtract those that are already retired, right? If you're already retired, we are not going to be counting you, right? Suppose I did 20 years in the Army and I retired from the Army when I'm 38, right? I say if I went in when I was 18, I got out 20 years later, I'm 38. Well, I'm 48 years old right now, guys, and I'm teaching. And if I'm receiving a paycheck from the school district, as well as receiving a retirement check from the military, I will not be counted as part of the labor force. Even though I am working and I'm still receiving a paycheck from that job, the fact that I'm collecting a retirement check from the military would eliminate me from the labor force. Then we need to subtract homemakers, right? They choose not to work. They choose to stay at home and maintain the house. It's their choice not to work outside the house, so we eliminate them from the labor force as well. Then we're going to subtract full-time students over 16. Why do we subtract them? Because they do have a job, and that job is to go to school. Now, if they choose to actively go look for a job and become part of the labor force, that's another thing altogether, right? But as far as the government is concerned, you have a job, and that's to go to school. Then we need to subtract the discouraged workers. What does discouraged mean? It means they are not looking for work. For whatever reason, they just do not want to look for work. So if they're not looking for work, we cannot count them as unemployed. That's one of the prerequisites of being considered unemployed, guys. You need to be actively looking for work. And if you are not, they're going to label you as discouraged and kick you out of the labor force. So after we eliminate those groups of people, this is going to leave us with the civilian labor force. And who exactly do we count? We count anyone who is employed. It does not matter anyone who is employed, right? It does not matter if you are working part-time or full-time. You are going to count as employed, and you are part of the labor force. We're going to count unpaid employees. All right. Isn't this illegal? Well, not really if they are family, right? So if you work for your family and you don't pick up a paycheck, guess what? You are part of the labor force. We don't want you counting as unemployed and making those stats look bad now, do we? Right? We are going to count anyone who is on sick leave, on vacation, anyone who's on strike, right? They have a job, they're just not going to work for whatever reason. They're on vacation, sick, on strike. If they're on maternity leave, and some companies are even offering paternity leave. So if you guys get a week or two off because your girlfriend or wife gave birth, right? That's thanks to paternity leave. You will not get the same amount of days that she gets, obviously, but you will get some, right? You will get some time off. This isn't for all companies, though, guys. And we are going to count the unemployed if they are looking for a job. If they are not looking for a job, we do not count them, guys. So remember that. All right. Which brings us to the labor force participation rate formula. You will be responsible for learning this, guys, so please learn it. And we need to take the size of our labor force over the entire population times 100, and that will give us the labor force participation rate. This brings us to the different types of unemployment. Now, there are three major types that I'm going to talk about. There's a fourth one that isn't major, but we're still going to talk about it right now. So the first one is called frictional unemployment. What is frictional unemployment? This is when we're between jobs because we choose to be, right? I choose to quit this job to take another job because the other job pays me more. But, it doesn't start for another month or two. So between now and then, I'm going to be unemployed, frictionally unemployed, because I'm choosing to be unemployed so I can move wherever it is I need to take that job and set my life up, right? It could be you're looking for new opportunities, or maybe you got a new degree and you're changing fields, whatever it is, right? If you choose to leave that job, you are frictionally unemployed. Now, seasonal unemployment is a type of frictional unemployment. Why? Because you choose to take these seasonal jobs, right? Nobody is forcing you to take them. This is what we are looking for, right? So a seasonal job, what is a seasonal unemployment? What is this? We're waiting for the correct season to start working. Imagine if you're a construction worker and you live in the Northeast. It would be way too cold in the winters for you to actually go outside and ply your trade, right? The interruption of the work is going to be natural. Might be the rainy season, might be, it's not harvest time yet, right? They're just planting, so they don't need people there for the harvest. Whatever it is, right? That's a type of seasonal unemployment, right? The next type of major unemployment we're going to talk about is called structural unemployment. Structural unemployment happens when technology changes or the times change and that job is no longer available. Imagine if your father or grandfather were VCR repairmen. They wouldn't be having a very good time economically speaking right now if they were, right? So what do they need to do in this case? Well, they need to go back and learn a new skill, right? Maybe learn how to fix DVD players, Blu-rays, DVRs, what have you, right? He would need to find skills that were actually in demand in that current market, right? So that's structural unemployment. Cyclical unemployment is actually tied to the business cycle, right? So if unemployment is high, that means we're in a recession. If unemployment starts to drop, it means that we are now in an economic recovery. All right, so let's go back and talk a little bit about frictional and structural unemployment. We actually like this kind of unemployment. Not that we want you to be out of a job because your skills are no longer fit the market, but we need a healthy amount of frictional unemployment and structural unemployment. Why? Because when we add this up, we should get 5%, which is our natural rate of unemployment. All right. This is where we want those 5% of people that we want unemployed to come from. We can either send them back to school, and there's plenty of government programs that help them get the education they need to get the skills that they need, right? Or it could be frictional. It's just your desire to go into a different line of work or something altogether different, right? That's your choice. We're Americans, right? We loved having that choice. So we have nothing against frictional unemployment. So that brings us to the unemployment rate formula. And in order for us to find the correct unemployment rate of the country, we need to take the number of people that are currently unemployed, divide that by the size of the labor force, multiply it by 100, and that will give us our unemployment rate. If you guys have any questions about anything I talked about right now, please send me a message on Remind or drop a comment down below.